You know, when you think back to most classrooms, the teacher is right there, front and center. But what if the whole point of education was something completely different? Today, we're going to dive into a pretty revolutionary idea that just flips that entire model on its head. We're going to explore how a teacher's greatest strength might actually be their ability to, well, to kind of disappear.
So this quote from Maria Montessori herself is really our launching point. The greatest sign of success is when children are working as if I did not exist. I mean, think about that for a second. It's a powerful and kind of paradoxical idea, isn't it? How can a teacher's absence be the goal? Well, that's exactly what we're going to unpack, because this one concept is the absolute heart of the Montessori method.
Okay, so to really appreciate just how big a shift this is, we got to start with what's familiar to most of us. Let's picture that traditional classroom, the one you and I probably remember. It's a model that's often called the sage on the stage, and it really sets the scene for everything else.
Yeah, this probably looks pretty familiar, right? The teacher is the focal point. They're the source of all the knowledge. And this isn't just about keeping everyone in line. It's about controlling the entire flow of learning. The teacher decides what you learn, when you learn it, and how you learn it. It is a completely top-down system where information just flows in one direction.
You know, there's a perfect metaphor to sum this all up. In this model, the teacher is absolutely in the driver's seat. They're picking the destination, they're choosing the route, and the kids, well, they're basically just passengers along for the ride.
So, how does Montessori just flip this whole script? It all comes down to a really fundamental pivot in the teacher's role. You go from being a commander to being a guide. And that one single shift, it creates a completely different world inside the classroom. This side-by-side really just lays it all out. Instead of being the fountain of all knowledge, the guide's main job is to prepare the environment to be the teacher. They step back from being a lecturer and instead become this careful, quiet observer. And check this out. The goal isn't to just hand out answers, but to actually nurture a child's own curiosity and then follow wherever that curiosity leads.
So what does a guide actually do all day then? Well, it really boils down to this four-step cycle. It all starts with observation, really watching and understanding each individual child's needs. Then, based on that, they prepare the classroom to meet those needs. Any intervention, like a new lesson, is really precise and minimal. It only happens when a child is genuinely ready for it. And then, here's the hardest part. They have to step back and encourage independence, even when every instinct is screaming to just jump in and help.
This role, you can imagine, it demands so much more than just teaching skills. It requires a very specific mindset. We're talking about a deep, almost radical kind of patience to let a child struggle and figure things out on their own time. It takes true humility to step back and let the child be the star of their own learning journey. It's really all about suppressing that adult ego and just trusting the child's natural drive to learn.
Okay, so that all sounds great in theory, but what does it actually look like when, things get messy? Let's walk through two super simple, real-world scenarios to see this whole philosophy in action.
All right, first up, a classic childhood challenge. It's one that tests every single adult's patience. You've got a kid who is just having the toughest time trying to tie their own shoelaces.
So, what's our first instinct, right? It's to just fix the problem. Here, let me do it for you. But the Montessori approach is all about playing the long game. It's about patiently showing them how to do it, and then, and this is the critical part, giving that child the space and the time to practice, to fail, and to eventually get it on their own. One response solves an immediate problem, the other builds a lifelong foundation of independence and self-confidence.
Now for a more classroom-specific example. A child, all on their own, walks over and chooses to work with a classic Montessori material called the pink tower.
In a more traditional setting, a teacher might see this and turn it into a group activity. Okay, everyone, let's all work on the pink tower. But the Montessori guide, they recognize this moment for what it is, pure, self-directed learning. By protecting that child's focus and letting them work without interruption, the guide helps them develop something absolutely priceless, deep concentration and the ability to see a task through, all by themselves.
So if the teacher isn't the driver, then what are they? This brings us to what might be the final and maybe the most beautiful way to think about it, the gardener philosophy.
And that just says it all, doesn't it? The teacher as a gardener. Think about it. A gardener can't force a seed to sprout. They can't make a flower bloom. Their job is to cultivate the absolute best environment for that to happen. To prepare the soil, give it the right amount of sun and water, and protect it from harm. The actual growth, that comes from within the plant on its own natural schedule.
So when you boil it all down, the big takeaway is simple, but it's also really profound. A Montessori guide's success isn't measured by their amazing lectures or how well they control the classroom. No, it's measured by what the children are empowered to do, completely on their own.
And this really leaves us with one final, pretty challenging question to think about. What if learning isn't about being taught at all? What if instead it's all about being allowed to discover? That's the fundamental shift in perspective that the whole Montessori method asks us to really consider.